Okay, this is I think it's part 4 of Thomas Szasz quotes, the author of Myth of Mental Illness. He really strongly criticizes Freud. He talks about Freud using electroshock to so-called treat frigid wives. He talks about how psychoanalysis is just a way to get people to talk about their old problems, and then they annoy everybody else in their life. It's really a terrible thing to do for people. Psychoanalysis is fraud, okay? It's quackery, it's bullshit, okay? Just like most of psychology is BS, okay? Psychiatry is almost entirely BS. There's a little bit of useful stuff in there. Sometimes a patient is really very psychotic and might need to be sedated briefly, but that's a whole atheistic disaster is what all that stuff is. Thomas Szasz, psychotherapy requires the therapist to have a proper attitude if it's going to work. Philosophy of life, to be honest and to be a perceptive listener rather than a big talker and an advice giver. Okay, so that sounds a little bit like the Carl Rogers attitude about psychology, that the psychotherapist basically has to be a good, intelligent friend. And a lot of people need an intelligent friend to talk to. They don't have one in their own life, so in that sense it makes sense, Okay, Thomas Szasz continues, as the internal combustion engine runs on gasoline, so a person runs on self-esteem. If they're full of it, self-esteem, they're good for the long run. If they're partly filled, they soon need to be refueled. If they're empty on self-esteem, they will come to a stop. Alfred Adler, all neurotic symptoms have as their object the task of safeguarding the patient's self-esteem. Thomas Szasz, people often say that this or that person has not yet found themselves. But a self is not something someone finds. It is something one creates. But the truth of the matter is you have to figure out what you want to do. And then in the process of trying to become good at that, you create yourself. But you do need to search to figure out what you like. You don't even know initially. You got to get exposed to more things, try more things. Okay, here's a good Thomas Szasz quote. Clear thinking requires courage rather than intelligence. Okay, Thomas Szasz continues, robbing people of their proper names is the first step to robbing them of their property, liberty, and life. Yeah, whenever you see that, like whenever, let's say, you have one country wants to start a war, they immediately describe the country that they want to attack as homicidal maniacs, out to get us, therefore we must preemptively destroy them, and then they don't mention, we're going to go steal all their stuff. Okay, that's what most wars are. It's a racket, it's a business to steal other people's stuff. Okay, Thomas Szasz, he says, the stupid neither forgive nor forget. The naive forgive and forget. The wise forgive, but they do not forget. The Myth of the Mental Illness was his title. He said that tertiary syphilis was proven to be a disease. Hysteria was simply declared to be a disease. Thomas Szasz felt that Freud and Charcot, Kraepelin, and Joseph Breuer, they had all totally exaggerated these ideas of mental illness to create a business for themselves. Okay, and he felt that most of these things were just people's problems of living rather than so-called mental illnesses. I agree with that. Franz Mesmer, mesmerism was another scumbag phony with, let's see. Szasz says Freud was a moralist in the guise of a scientist. Szasz says psychoanalysis is a religion disguised as a science. Freud just says that all the laws of psychology of the unconscious were revealed to him, that he had special access to it. It's all BS, okay? Karl Kraus says, psychoanalysis is the disease of which it claims to be the cure. The more you study psychoanalysis, psychology, and psychiatry, the more you will be disgusted by how fake and phony they are. They really are bogus pseudoscience. There are some real things in psychology, okay, but most of what they get their claims to fame for are bogus. Now here's a good quote by Thomas Szasz. He says, Jung and Adler were an improvement on Freud, but they don't go far enough. The key is meaning. Meaning is what sets people free. And I agree with him. He's right. What gives you the energy to go on living is you say there's something worth doing. You say, yeah, I'm sad. Yeah, most of my dreams will never even have a chance of being done. Yeah, a lot of the people I love are dead. But you say, you know what? There's still other good things that make it worthwhile for me to get out of bed every day. And despite all the tedious crap I have to go through to make a living, pay the bills, and feed myself, there's still good things that I want to do. And that's why people should emphasize those things. You serve Christ as trying to be a force for good in the world, that you want to be a great coach, a great teacher, a great parent, a great scholar, a great something, okay? You have to figure out for yourself what that is. But that quest to do good and be good makes you feel energized, and that makes you happy, and it makes you live a more fulfilling life that's better for other people and yourself. So anyways, that's it for Thomas Shaw's quotes. I hope you found them helpful.